Gay programming.
Hello and welcome to another episode. I can't remember if it's episode 12 or 13. I'm like 90% sure it's episode 12. But regardless, this is Gay Programming, the greatest queer podcast on the internet. In fact, we're the only queer podcast on the whole website on called the World Wide Web. And as always, I'm joined not just by myself, but by my beautiful boyfriend, Merlin Kirby. Welcome yourself.
Babe, your photo of Ho Chi Minh on the wall is crooked in the frame.
It is.
Yeah, I don't know.
Damn.
I don't know when it slid, but it did.
Yeah, I gotta fix that. Poor Ho Chi Minh is not being officially respected on our wall because his picture is very astray.
Yeah.
For those who, for the listeners who haven't been inside our apartment, we have a collage, a bunch of pictures over our TV of famous people that we like, and one of them is the grand, glorious Emperor Ho Chi Minh. That was my pick, by the way. Merlin's probably gonna look. Merlin's looking at me like I didn't put that up. I don't like Ho Chi Minh.
This is just my face. It's just what my face looks like. I'm afraid.
Yeah, Merlin. If there's one thing, here's a fun fact about Merlin, listeners of Gay Programming. He hates Vietnam. He hates the whole country. North, south, doesn't matter. He fucking hates it.
I just don't know a whole lot because I'm not a international history buff.
And you want to keep it that way, don't you, with Vietnam? Not learning a damn thing about it.
Not because of Vietnam, only because of how small my brain is.
That's true. It's very small. I've seen x-rays. It's scary.
Yeah.
I don't even know how you're able to, walk, honestly.
If I learn any more historical facts, my brain might make room by forgetting how to breathe or something like that. So I gotta
it's like the brain. It's like your brain size is like that of a fucking walnut. It's like a fucking gay ass walnut who wants fingers up their butt. Yeah. Yeah, that's what your brain's like.
I do not want fingers up my butt.
Unfortunately, and this is why this relationship's going downhill real fast, let me tell you. Lack of fingers and butts. But we're not here to talk about fucking fingers and butts.
Are you sure?
We can. This is a queer podcast that does fall in the line.
No, I'm good. I just wanted to make sure you were committed to
No, babe, we could talk about fingers and butts. Why don't you start, since you're so interested in this topic that you can start it.
I haven't written any essays on that yet.
Okay, we'll ask you next week, see where you're at.
Yeah.
Okay, it's been a little bit. So why don't we catch up, everybody? How we doing? What you been up to, Merlin? Yeah, you've been mostly banging your head because of school.
Yeah, I was literally just thinking, and I was like, man, not much.
Yeah, it starts that way, especially when you start school again.
Yeah.
And you're also working full time.
Yeah. Where
you're just like, man, I have no fucking life. I can't have a life.
No.
I don't have a time for that. But are you comfortable talking about what you're studying, what you're doing stuff about? You want to talk about that dipshit that's in your class?
God. Yeah, so right now I'm as part of my psychology bachelor's, and I apologize for being yet another psychology major. I'm currently taking biology and human sexuality.
Well, if I go back to school, I'm going to be an English major, so we're not really doing the...
We'll be like the most annoying couple ever.
Yeah, we will be. We will have no friends to speak of, not even in Portland.
Oh my god, no, and I feel like in Portland, we'd be like power couple with those two majors.
Yeah, we would have been if there was any other person who didn't major in either psychology or English in the entire state of Oregon.
I think we have the capability to be the most annoying about it, though. I think if we pushed ourselves...
Well, I could be loud. I could be way louder than these fucking soft-spoken pussies here in Portland.
And I'm good at saying shit that makes no goddamn sense.
Here's a clip from the podcast right now.
I let my nuts hang.
Ha! You're embarrassing. You shouldn't even be on a mic. Ha! Ha! No, but what are you studying?
Yeah, no, I mean, biology is just part of the science requirement, and I
You're
always,
taking a class on sex.
yeah, unfortunately. I didn't have very high hopes for it because I'm not going to list my college, but it is,
It's
not
in a not
impressive.
too cool place.
Yeah, and it's also, its target audience is,
It's a not, but you're taking it online. It should be said
yeah,
because we are in Portland, Oregon, but you're taking out of state college.
yes.
But we won't say the name of the college.
Yeah, so it's pretty conservative, uh, and you signed up for something like human sexuality, and you're thinking like, oh man, women's studies, feminism, gender, queerness, and instead it's like, pretend your 9-year-old daughter just had her first period. What would you tell her? And it's,
I know how I would tell her. Say, gross! What? What did you do? What happened? Oh my god, you're bleeding!
No, I can't wait to read my peers' discussions in that post, and it'll be like, oh my gosh, like, the beautiful gift of womanhood. Like, it's gonna be so ridiculous.
Well, yeah, because can I explain this dipshit and you can tell us a little bit more about it?
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, one of the so yeah, Merlin's taking
First week of school.
yeah, Merlin's taking a sex ed. Well, I don't know what you would call it. Would it just be called sexual education?
The course is liturgy.
Literature.
Yeah. No, the course is literally just called human sexuality.
Gotcha. So yeah, I mean it's a human sexuality course, and yeah. So first week, like the prompt is something along the lines of like talk about your experience with sexuality and your interpretations of it or whatever, and yeah, Merlin, took the time to express their relationship with sexuality through being trans. And they wrote a very lovely paper about it. Well, response, I guess, would be the one.
Yeah.
But yeah, then the second person who responded, because Merlin's a goody two shoes, a good fucking bootlicker with a fucking apple in his hand, always trying to get the homework done first. But the second motherfucker who completed was a guy who was well, I don't know, is it a guy?
Yes.
Yeah, so it's a guy who's aggressively straight and cis, and oh my god, Merlin shared his response with me, and it's beautiful. It's beautiful. So why don't you say some more about that?
Oh gosh, I mean, part of me is like, oh man, I shouldn't like make fun of my classmates. We're all here to learn, but I'm also like, nah, screw this guy. This is funny. Um, he mentioned that he has never been attracted to men like 9 times,
Which is a really great way of like affirming to me that you're not gay, is by like starting off like, I have never even looked at one man and been like, that's an attractive man. I don't even know what that is.
And then he mentioned that the way he learned about sexuality was from his older brother's Playboys.
It's a good place to learn. Hugh Hefner has always proven himself to be a very trustworthy ally to the woman's struggle of ending the patriarchy.
And then he ended the post strong by saying that human sexuality has become a like very strong topic in today's society, and I'm like, yeah, good so far. And then he goes, nowadays you have to respect everybody's opinions or else you're a bigot. And I was like, oh no.
Which is the exact definition, and has always been the exact definition of a bigot. That's not something that's changed.
Yeah, and then anyway, so I, being a little, I really feel like I don't know, maybe it's because I'm bipolar, but I really think of myself through like the lens of the teachings of like yin and yang, and part of me really wanted to reply to this guy and just respectfully enough that the teacher wouldn't like scold me and slap me on the wrist, but
damn motorcyclist.
But I did very much want to reply and just make some thoughts happen. But then I was like, Merlin, no. don't do that. Don't invite stupidity into your life. Just do your post and move on. And then he replied to mine.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah,
And,
but yeah, you want to,
yeah.
because I'll launch into something else after. But you want to tell what he said to your response of talking about you being trans?
Dude, he was literally just like, I respect gay, lesbian, and bisexual people, but I'm against trans people because I don't understand it. Nothing against you, of course, but and I was just like, what, too?
Yeah, it's this like fucking like really toxic mentality of like I don't know if this is just like worldwide, maybe it is, but I've noticed it. I'm going to say this is an American thing, an American cis guy thing, but just this like weird need to be polite and to be like Mr. Rogers. Be like always nice, say please and thank you, always respect someone. If you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all. But also at the same time, especially with these fucks, they're like trying to like logically and politely tell you that they think you're not even human and they don't respect anything that you identify as.
I mean, I think it really is just kind of the, like, combination of two separate harmful aspects of being, like, a cis man, where, you know, part of it due to like the history of the country and many other countries, obviously they're very comfortable in saying transphobic, racist, sexist things. Like, you know, don't see themselves as they don't see themselves as like facing any repercussions from that. But then there's also that thing, I think it ties into, like, you know, a lot of men are like, oh, women are just too emotional. I have to just be like intellectual and like not have any emotions, and that's what makes me superior in any argument. And then they'll just say the most dipshit like
Well,
thing
yeah, the
you've
most
ever
like
heard.
reactionary shit,
Yeah.
like that requires no thought whatsoever. I mean, like to basically just be like, there's nothing more like non-logical than just being like, well, I haven't seen it,
Yeah.
so therefore, or I haven't felt it personally, so I don't like accept that it's real. But it's just like the shit that makes me even angrier is just like I would almost just like more if there were just people who just I don't know, just like that guy just says like trans doesn't exist. Without like having the need to like add also to that sentence like I still respect you though, because I hate that shit. You don't respect me at
Yeah.
all. If you did, then you would like at least even entertain the idea that maybe you're wrong.
Well, I think in that instance especially, there's also just the issue of like covering his own ass, because obviously this college, I do not like, I have not seen any kind of like inclusionary messaging from them.
No.
Hypothetically though, if I was one of these trans snowflakes and I flipped my lid and went to the teacher like, this person said they don't like trans people or whatever, you know, I think a big part of that was just covering his own ass, to the sense of like, no, I said it wasn't an attack on him though, so like it's fine.
Yeah, but I like even past that, like I see fuckers like all these like wannabe nice guys online who like have no need to be like chivalrous like at all.
Yeah.
Like they don't need to be nice, but they want to be nice because they don't want to be perceived as like just outright bigots, even though that's
Yeah.
exactly what they're doing. Yeah, but it like kind of transitioning to slightly different topic, but well, not different topic, but a different subject, same topic. Is like I even had an incident where a boy was being very rude to me. Basically, if you're trans online and you're
Yeah.
like present of that, you're very familiar, I'm sure, with at least getting a handful or a couple of messages either on posts you've done or just direct messages from random assholes who, are trying to insult you. And the one that I got recently was like, on I'm assuming they found me on Facebook or something, and they saw one of my posts, and they're like, huh, nice 5 o'clock shadow, tranny. Just trying to like,
Caught your
yeah,
ass.
got me, fucking savage, fucking how dare I as a
As
woman
if we
have
don't call each other trannies like endearingly anyway.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. It was clearly like because he kept using the term tranny,
yeah.
like which I'm sure he thought was, just to get me angry so he could like screenshot the
Mm-hmm.
DM messengers and be like, I got another one on his
Yeah.
DM messengers or whatever. But yeah, of just like fuckers who are like trying to hurt you, and laughably so. Um, and anyone who's trans can attest to similar incidents happening to them. And I guess this rambling little message of mine is to say that, and anyone who's like present and aware of this probably doesn't need this reminder, but now more than ever, cis people need to understand that while, yes, it is Gay Pride Month and you're going to see endless amounts of rainbow flags and trans flags and companies trying to say that they're in support with the trans struggle and trying to, quote unquote, show it and be more aware about it, that this struggle is not done. Like trans people aren't like we haven't won like yet, or like people who just think that like oh there's no more bigotry anymore against
Mm-hmm.
trans people, because these pussies are still out there and they're hiding in plain sight and they're fucking aggressive. They're fucking aggressive to the extent that they're going to do anything they can on social media platforms to harass trans content creators and just trans people on those platforms to get off of those platforms, to shut up, because they want that more than anything, because they're angry little men who are pissed off that they don't have any personal power or authority in the world, and they are taking their fucking failure of a life aggression out on people they feel are the scapegoat in the situation. And right now, it's trans people and gay people and people who think that they're have a more evolved understanding of their gender than most other people like themselves.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, like, people always seem very surprised, I think, a lot of people, when they hear stories like that, or stories like the reason I did not even log into Instagram for months when I was like 14 because I got like harassed by a whole bunch of people, and what happened to us in that hotel, and like all of that shit. Like, I think people, it's like people don't get that it's still just an everyday occurrence a lot of the time.
Well, because they themselves don't experience it because either they aren't outwardly identifiable as a minority to be harassed, or they just simply aren't a minority at all. They're just, a white cis person who doesn't, deal with anything like that and is under the assumption that if they don't see it, then it must not be going on.
Yeah, for sure. I am very vocal that I don't even like Pride Month.
Most people who are gay do not.
Yeah,
I'm
because
just
like,
like, yeah, anyone who hangs out with actually gay people and you actually go to Pride, how many people are there who are quote unquote allies? Who
mm-hmm.
are just like straight people who are like, I like wearing the rainbow flag.
Yeah, or like local branches of national banks who are like funding it and
Again,
in
yeah,
receipt for like tax
businesses going
breaks.
there to show like, oh, we're with gay people is like good PR.
Yeah, and I even because like apparently Portland's Pride Parade happened this weekend.
Yeah, I think
Um,
on the 19th.
yeah, and we didn't go.
No, I didn't.
And I'm kind of glad that I didn't. One, because we have a much better event coming up,
Yeah.
but two,
Can we talk about that, or is that like a no go?
we can talk about it.
Yeah.
Um, but like I even saw some posts from more leftist gay people after it, and apparently the Portland's Pride like was on this really slippery, muddy terrain that was not accessible to people with mobility aids whatsoever,
Yeah.
and it's just shit like that where you're like, this Pride events like this are made for guilty feeling straight people
Mm-hmm.
and like upper class cis white gay people. Like that's the target audience, and really nobody outside of that is often included.
Yeah, because I mean, there's something really needing to be said where, like, in the latter half of what you're saying of like who are primarily at like pride events, which is like these more professional oriented LGBT members who basically, are people like my parents,
Mm-hmm.
for example, who are
Yeah.
like middle class gay people who are, my parents aren't, you know, professionals. They were civil servants, but still, they were able to get into a middle class state. And one thing that is really important to understand why like identity politics and an understanding of class divide is really important to go hand in hand with each other, because there is seriously a very noticeable class divide in gay communities. I
Oh
mean,
yeah.
this is like anyone who is actually gay or has any experience with even understanding the slightest iota of like the life of people gay in different economic stratospheres is all too present. It's been a thing very common and very present and still continues to this day. So when you see events like this that are organized and may have an LGBTQIA plus presence there, it should be stated that like maybe these people, even if they're gay, aren't necessarily great allies in the bigger overall struggle that we're all involved in.
Well, yeah, because there's, I mean, it just kind of reverts back to the whole liberalism versus leftism thing, and the shit that really gets me about it a lot is when I see kind of the bastardization of very, prominent figures in LGBT history. Um, like a lot of the people that everyone looks to as like, being responsible for the gay rights movement, like we're also communists, and like
Yeah.
the Stonewall uprising was like an uprising against police brutality.
Why don't you tell us, the audience, a little bit about the Stonewall Uprising, in case they're not familiar, because it is a point in history that is unfortunately very wiped over by most mainstream history courses in America.
Yeah, so I am off the top of my head by no means an expert myself,
Yeah.
but um, so the Stonewall Inn was a very common kind of nightclub for people who cross dressed, trans people, gay people, drag queens, etc. And at
Like RuPaul's Drag Race
not
every
like
single
RuPaul.
day.
But at the time, there was actually a law that someone had to be wearing. It was like at least two, but I think at least three, somewhere around there. A certain number of like gender confirming clothing or gender compliant clothing. Um, so, like, if you were assigned female at birth, you had to dress like what they thought a female dressed like at the time, and same with you were assigned male at birth.
Dress, corset, seven and a
Yeah.
half billion pairs of socks underneath
Yeah.
your legs.
Um, and there was a kind of butch presenting black woman. Forgive me, I cannot remember her name, but she was being arrested because she was not wearing the right clothing. She was, had a very masked presentation. Um, And I remember reading like some lines as like, well, while they were arresting her, she was looking at people around her and saying like, why aren't you doing anything? Like, help me. And people sure the fuck did. And Marcia actually showed up a bit later, into
Yeah, I
the
thought she was
night.
involved in that.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
she came I think like an hour, couple hours later after it had kind of already became an
Yeah,
uprising.
yeah.
Um, Still obviously very prominent involvement. Um,
She didn't even do anything.
no, she love her to
no,
death.
no, she's we love you. Rest
Yeah,
in peace every day.
yeah. Um, so that's pretty much what it was just like a very active response to police brutality, and it was more of a defensive thing, and
Direct action, if you
yeah.
will. Yeah.
Also, something I get really nitpicky about is when people call it the Stonewall riots, because a direct quote from that woman, I think, uh, in her words, it was not no damn riot. And I just think that's such a good quote about it.
Yeah, no, I mean, in every, like, testament that I've ever read about it, except from the fucking point of view of the police, which you can personally throw that fucking out in the garbage for all I care. But every fucking other, like, telling of it has always been that, like, the cops started shit and they were defending themselves.
Oh yeah, no, they were
because
just going
you were
in there.
Unjustly fucking with someone.
Yeah, no, they were just going in there and like brutalizing people.
And even in the say of like some fuckers, which I have seen, where they're like, oh, they're just doing their jobs, like it was against the law, and I'm like, it was an unjust law.
Yeah.
It was a fucking like like that was a horseshit law.
Yeah.
Like they shouldn't have even been there.
Especially like I'm pretty sure like 1 or 2 weeks or sometime after the uprising, the local police department literally issued a statement like, we went overboard. Sorry, we shouldn't have done that.
Sorry, fam. We put ourselves in timeout, and we've been doing some thinking.
Just sit in a chair facing the wall, you know how it is.
And while that dude was still in the wrong for wearing a dress.
Yeah, no, it was a lot, but...
We respectfully want to tell all the community we're very sorry.
Yeah. So, yeah, no, like, I think about stuff like that, and a lot of the people who, you know, like, attend, you know, the kind of corporate gay pride fest today, if that event took place today, they would not support it. You know, people would be like, oh, well, you need to comply with the police and reason with them or whatever. And, like, you can't... That's just the shit that pisses me off, because I'm like, you're...
Yeah, no, I mean, it's definitely, like, so frustrating, especially when people are, like... I don't know, I think there's definitely... Maybe it's just this liberal mind frame of just, like, naturally assuming that either cops are always in the right because the law is always in the right, and we as social contract buy-ins, we should just innately believe that like the laws and the government and the police are always in the right, or at the like something they'll kind of still believe in that, or they'll still say like, well, you know, maybe there's some bad apples in there, but, like, overall, we should still be working with cops because they're just like us. They're just there for a job. And, I don't know. I mean, like, it's just, like, I don't know when exactly in history Americans just became such big pussies. Like, I don't know when exactly. Maybe we were always pussies. But, like, I just think it's so crazy that a country that supposedly is very rich in the belief of revolution and independence and fighting for your own path in life and, like, you know, that dream of the American dream of, like, having your own piece of land where you can be your own god, essentially, in that little Eden that you create. That, like, now we're just fucking these group of, like, mouth-breathing, anxiety-ridden, like, suburbanites that are afraid of, like, even the idea of suggesting like, hey man, maybe it is sometimes right to punch a cop. Maybe there are some instances where the police are the actual like embodiment of oppression and the actual like the mechanical means of enacting oppression on people. And like, there's countless examples of that, not just at the that riot, but at just like countless other precincts. One that I think is a really exemplary of just like how fucked up American police force is just like the Chicago PD and their fucking like absolute brutality on their people, and how they literally had like an underground secret prison that they just beat the shit out of people in and killed people and murdered people in. And that kind of mentality, that kind of brutality is all too common within many police precincts, and is expected to be just like, we're just expected to be like, well, we can work that out through like elections, like a fucking crazy person. And that just comes down to me when I see those people suggesting that, are just like, they're so far removed from the actual struggles of everyday people, that they just like are completely complicit in the big evil monster machine that is the American government. And they're so hypnotized that they don't even see, or maybe they want to refuse seeing, that they're actually contributing it by wanting to like wanting to like debate the cops into not shooting people.
Yeah, I mean, it really has a lot of similarities, I think, to, a lot of the conversation around...
Sorry.
It's okay.
That's my tip medicine. Gotta take my tip medicine.
You can go do that now.
Alright, we're back from my tip medicine juice. I think it's my tits have grown 3 inches because of that pill, so that was a good break.
But yeah, I think it has a lot of similarities to the conversation around like rape and sexual assault, and people a lot of times, and I don't know if this is to make themselves feel better or more safe, but a lot of times people tend to, rather than knowing that, things like police brutality and sexual assault, instead of recognizing that, these things can happen to anybody, and definitely disproportionately certain groups, but there's this idea that victims of these things were deserving of it in some way. When somebody is assaulted, everyone asks what they were wearing and were they drunk and did they lead the person on. And then when people are brutalized by police, people are like, well, what crime did they commit? And it's... and I don't know if that's just they're trying to, like, psychologically remove themselves from that crime because they go, well, I would never go out dressed provocatively, or I would never be arrested for misconduct or whatever. But yeah, no, there's always this like shift of blame onto the victim rather than the person, abusing other human beings.
Yeah, it is really curious, especially with the like whole brutality angle of just like of why you would even blame a victim in the beginning, when someone's like saying like, oh, I've been raped, and like we should talk about that because like I don't care if someone was fucking naked shaking their fucking ass in an alleyway. Like, no one deserves to get fucking raped, like, for anything. And yeah, I mean, it's like that fucking line of thinking, and I think it's also really fucking sketchy too. Like, this is the one and only fucking time we're gonna mention this fucking trial, okay? But that whole Johnny Depp fucking trial against
we've already mentioned it.
Well, yeah, but this is the only time we're actually seriously fucking talking about it, other than me fucking joking on it. But like, the one thing I do think is really sketchy about it, I don't give a shit about Amber Heard, I don't give a shit about Johnny Depp, but I have to understand that a lot of people give a shit about Amber Heard and give a shit about Johnny Depp. To the point now that where they're using this defamation trial and its verdict to basically undermine Believe All Women, like to basically undermine the attestments of abuse from women. And if you think that's ridiculous, because you personally have not come to those conclusions, let me just encourage you to, for just a brief few minutes, go over to the Daily Wire, go over to fucking Steven Crowder, go over to fucking Michael Knowles, all these fucking mouth-breathing conservatives, and go like look up with their opinions on the Johnny Depp Amber Heard trial. And it's all just like, see, this is just a classic example of why we need to, when a woman says she's been sexually assaulted, we need to take some steps in order to find out if that's really true, because sometimes we have unjust criminals like Johnny Depp. Even though if you actually look at that fucking trial, Johnny Depp was abusing Amber Heard as well as Amber Heard abusing him.
Yeah.
It's a much more complicated conversation about human emotional abuse and all of that than just simply saying, oh, women, are victims, or rape accusations are like, should be undermined or whatever.
Yeah, no, like, while we're using our one get out of jail free card for talking about this.
Yes.
I was literally just discussing this yesterday with a very close, with a very close friend of mine, and yeah, we touched on like the same issues about how like as much as the general public wants it to be this way, neither one of these people are angelic and free of sin in this trial.
Johnny Depp is a weird theater kid, and Amber Heard is a psycho bitch. Like, they are both awful people.
Yeah, and like, you cannot deny like the misogyny that she faced in this trial. Even if I'd like, the few clips of interviews or cases or like whatever that have shown up on my feed, like, I don't like her, but like you can tell about like the misogynist energy in the room. And also, the other thing that is even outside of anything about the two of them as people that I feel like we need to look at and really be concerned about with this case is that now there is a legal precedent that publicly stating I've been a victim of abuse, and not naming when, not naming who, any of that. Just stating that you have been a victim of some kind of violence can now be considered defamation, and anyone can, like, sue you for it.
Yeah, no, I mean...
Like, that is so scary.
The precedent this trial sets is really scary, and it's exactly shit like that makes me, like, really terrified, because this is, in a lot of ways, kind of reminds me... I don't know if you all remember this, or were, like, at all aware, but... You remember that fucking trial between Hulk Hogan and Gawker?
No.
Well, it was I think that was the name of the publication, but it was a tabloid press, and essentially Hulk Hogan had this sex tape that was leaked through them that basically confirmed that he... Well, I don't even think it was a sex tape, but I think the really big incriminating part of it was that Hulk Hogan said the N-word in it, and that it was clearly Hulk Hogan saying it. It was a real nasty little bit of audio.
When was this?
I mean, I want to say like
approximately
2012, maybe not even that long ago, honestly. 2015, 2016, 2017, somewhere around there.
I wouldn't have known.
But yeah, no, like it was essentially this trial that was, like just kind of like this, where it involved a celebrity. It was, kind of talked about a lot. I don't know if it was also televised like the Johnny Depp trial. Probably was. But essentially that trial was, Hulk Hogan suing this tabloid writing, and I'm pretty sure it was Gawker. But anyways, but basically like had set a precedent that you couldn't... Like, basically was challenging freedom of press, essentially. It was, like, the whole thing was, like, and, we had people essentially funding Hulk Hogan, because at that time he was just, like, dirt fucking broke. So, but there was, like, a shit ton of people, of nefarious fuckers, like, funding this trial because they knew it was a really good way of setting a precedent under the radar by using Hulk Hogan as a big old radar to, like, take off the real attention of the case.
Yeah.
Which was that this was a group of elites trying to challenge the president of freedom of press and freedom of speech. And just like now, where, I don't know if there was any funding on Johnny Depp or Amber Heard's part, because they both are quite wealthy.
Mm-hmm.
But, definitely this trial will be used and is already being used in PR campaigns from these fucking very nefarious fucking conservative groups to basically start the process of having a really big case and a really big verdict that can support their argument of saying, of undermining rape accusations and making it even harder to be someone who can accuse someone of rape and have any wheels of justice move in your direction.
Yeah, for sure. Because, if you really think about it, obviously, they, the ruling, they both owed each other money, but I think she owed him a lot more. But, to both of them as individuals, they're both gonna be fine.
Oh, yeah.
Neither of them are gonna, be evicted anytime soon. And, Depp didn't, lose any roles in movies during any of this.
In fact, he's probably gonna get more.
Yeah,
I guarantee you there's probably, in the coming year or two, there's gonna be, a shit ton of Johnny Depp movies that we're gonna just see randomly.
Yeah, so I feel like a big part of the whole, weird obsession with this is a few things. One, just general people with boring lives want to know what the rich and famous people are up to.
And America's unhealthy... Well, I don't even want to say America, but, just people's unhealthy obsession with celebrity.
Yeah, but also... Yeah, ultimately, I feel like the ruling of this doesn't affect them much as individuals, other than maybe, various emotional kinds of validation, maybe, but... Yeah, no, it is all just about, the legal message that it sends to the public.
Mm-hmm.
That's...
Yeah, it's definitely, now that the verdict has been, given out and everything, it's definitely... And with the verdict being as explosive as it is here, because, if anyone, even I, a dipshit who's not very familiar with legal history, can understand just how, monumental it is that a defamation fucking lawsuit, and not even just that, but a defamation lawsuit against a rape accusation is fucking passed in America. That has never happened before.
Yeah.
Ever, especially on this level. In places like the UK, defamation lawsuits happen all the time, and they go through nothing, pretty much. It's way easier to sue someone for defamation in the UK. But here it's almost unheard of, and I'm pretty sure this is the first one on record to ever go through and actually be proven as a defamation, as that was. So, this is going to be in legal law books for years to come. And this is, and the thing that, you're saying too, it's going to be used for some really fucking dark shit. And I can only see that this fucking craziness will just continue. And it seems to me no one's really going to take anything past it other than being Jack Sparrow went to court and won.
Yeah, literally. Speaking of, my friend and I were talking about this one. He told me about something else that I didn't even know. And it makes perfect sense. I just never thought about this aspect of it before. Did you know that if somebody has an abortion, the father and their siblings, family members, all of these people attached to the father of the once existing fetus are able to sue the pregnant person, and sometimes they are all encouraged to do so, and there's no number limit on how many people can sue them. So if you have 5 siblings, 2 parents, an aunt, an uncle, they can all sue.
That's fucking crazy. I didn't even know that. I might be
explaining it in overly simplified ways, but
I mean, yeah, that like I haven't heard that personally, but just like I buy it. I mean, like literally, like if there's anything we're really good at in America is finding ways to sue people. We're like we fucking love suing people here.
Yeah.
We had a president who couldn't stop talking about how he wanted to sue people.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, it's just like. I'm in full support of that Back to the Future 2 line where Doc confesses that in the future we abolish lawyers and now like legal proceedings happen like that. Like nothing happened.
Yeah.
We still have cops in that world, which is unfortunate. Yeah, I was hoping they would, if they abolish lawyers, they should be able to realize that cops are just as bad as lawyers.
I always love the idea of lawyers in theory, but only, like, I met, like, one really cool lawyer who, like, immigrated here, and I met him when Trump was, like, considering getting rid of DACA protections, and he was, like, helping people renew their DACA thing so they could stay in the country before he potentially got rid of it. On like a sliding scale, and he was just like using his legal power for all of this great stuff, and I was like, only valid kind of lawyer, like right there. Anyone else, absolutely not. But if you're like doing that shit, you're so valid.
Also, I have a lot of respect for public defense lawyers.
Yeah,
like, some of those people, man, they're like fucking angels. Like,
I don't remember the specific term, but like if you're like like jail support, I guess, like in mutual aid spaces where like if you're arrested, certain people who are lawyers will like help you out.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, you're so good.
Yeah, I remember I saw this Vice one way back when about this public defense lawyer, and he was so fucking cool. He had a fucking back tattoo of all the names of the people that he's represented, and he failed. So he's got so he'll always remember them. It was so. If I find a clip of it, I'll put it in the episode. But he was so fucking awesome. That shit to me is hardcore. So you know what? Fuck you, Doc Brown. Maybe we need lawyers like that. Less Roy Cohn motherfuckers.
Yeah, lawyers, but hopefully no reason to ever use them. I think that is the best.
Yeah, just some guy who knows everything about the law.
Yeah, but also no law.
Yeah, no law, but he knows everything about the law, which is a really easy task.
There you go.
So honestly, all lawyers should be anarchists like us. Well, thanks so much for listening to another episode of Gay Programming. It was really awesome to talk to you again. Me and Merlin have an Instagram for Gay Programming. We also have a SoundCloud, and there's a YouTube. There's some problems happening with my video editing software, so I'm currently so the last episode has not been uploaded to YouTube yet as we're recording this. And also, this one might have some problems to it if I don't find the answer to that. But there is a YouTube channel. It is we should have that, I should have that back up and running soon. But yeah, we have a SoundCloud, we have a YouTube, we have an Instagram. We have personal Instagrams. I go by FemMarks1. I upload my poems and my zines and my doodles there, so check that out if you want. And also my boyfriend goes by Angsty Vegan on Instagram, where he uploads some cool stuff about his life and all that. So yeah, go check that out if you want. We try to upload episodes weekly. We're both very busy people and very depressive people, so that doesn't always fucking happen, but we try to. And regardless, if you enjoy this episode, be sure to like, be sure to subscribe, be sure to share it around, give us some love, and we'll be seeing you again real soon. Bye-bye.
Bye, friends.
What everybody say about the bad, 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 bad. Bad is a bad, you know I'm bad, bad, bad. Bad is a bad, you know I'm bad, bad, bad. Bad is a bad, you know I'm bad, bad, bad. Bad is a bad, well, don't you know about the bad? Everybody knows that the bad is a bad, you know I'm bad. you know about the bad. Everybody knows that I'm bad is bad, you know I'm bad, bad is bad, you know it. Fucking bad.